You might remember a couple months ago, I made a video where I ranked the top 5 best performing high yielding dividend stocks of the last 5 years to see which companies not only offer investors a good dividend yield, but have also had a huge amount of growth behind them when dividends were reinvested. And while I feel like that video served as a good reference, 5 years worth of performance isn't exactly a whole lot. What I wanted to do was go back even further into the past, and so in today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to be taking a look at and ranking the top 5 best performing high-paying dividend stocks of the last 20 years. These stocks are going to be ranked by best overall performance, not by their current dividend yield, and it also assumes that you decided to reinvest those dividends every quarter or month into buying more shares. Also, when I say high dividend yields, I'm considering everything over 4% to be a high dividend yield. I'm not going to go too in-depth into each company on this list because in order to do a deep analysis into each stock would take a really long time. So if you happen to be interested in any of these companies, make sure you do your own research before initiating a position. While it's true that really good past performance by no means indicates that a stock will continue to perform well into the future, I certainly think these stocks are still worth taking a look at as there could be more room to grow. So with that being said, let's get started. The number 5 best performing high dividend yielding stock of the last 20 years is Simon Property Group, ticker symbol SPG. Simon is a real estate investment trust that's engaged in the ownership of premier shopping, dining, entertainment, and mixed-use destinations. As of 2020, Simon owns over 230 properties around the world, with approximately 47% being malls, 32% being premium outlets, and 9 being international properties. Their stock currently trades for $133.59 a share, and it offers a dividend yield of 4.47%. As I'm sure a lot of us are aware, 2 major shifts are currently impacting mall REITs like Simon pretty significantly. First of all, the pandemic caused a lot of economic hardship for retail and shopping centers as a whole, with fewer people wanting to go out to these largely populated areas during the height of the pandemic. On top of that, another big cultural shift that was impacting malls before the pandemic was the move away from brick and mortar to more online shopping for consumers. These 2 events have been responsible for a lot of stores within these shopping centers to close their doors permanently. In fact, 3 mall REITs have recently filed for bankruptcy, which are Pennsylvania Real Estate Investment Trust, CBL and Associates, as well as Washington Prime Group. With so much bad news for the industry, I think it begs the question, why should anyone consider investing in mall REITs? I've done a lot of looking into Simon Property Group's quarterly and annual reports, as well as reading a lot of news reports and articles about them, and in some ways I can still see how people are optimistic about Simon's future. The management team at Simon seem well aware that they're going to need to shift their strategy in order to survive going into the future. One thing that's become really popular in big cities are what's known as mixed-use commercial properties. These aren't just shopping malls, these are huge buildings with stores, offices, and apartments or condos all connected to each other. Simon has continued to heavily invest into these kind of properties, with one example being Northgate Mall in Seattle, Washington, which isn't just a mall but a large community complex that includes stores, restaurants, office space, 1,200 condos, hotels, and even ice skating rinks. Based on news reports and articles that I've seen, these kind of mixed-use malls definitely seem to be the way things are progressing towards. But if we look at their performance over the last 20 years, if you would have invested $10,000 into SPG in 2001, you would now have $122,841.74 with a total return of 1,127.38%. This comes out to an average annual return of 13.36%. Their stock price, as you can see in this graph, really took a tumble in 2020 during the pandemic, but it's actually up over 110% from this time a year ago. Considering everything we talked about, we'll have to wait and see if Simon can continue to produce these kind of results going into the future. Coming in at number 4, we have Altria, ticker symbol MO. Through its subsidiaries, Altria manufactures and sells cigarettes, oral tobacco products, and wine in the United States. It offers cigarettes primarily under the Marlboro brand, cigars principally under the Black & Mild brand, and moist smokeless tobacco products under the Copenhagen, Red Seal, and Husky brands. They also own a stake in the vaping brand Juul. Altria is also considered a dividend king, which is an elite group of stocks that have been able to grow their dividends for 50 or more consecutive years. That means that even during recessions, inflation, and changing markets, these companies have continued to have enough cash on hand to not only keep paying dividends, but to raise them every year for decades. Altria just recently increased their dividend by 4.7% to 90 cents per share. MO currently offers investors a dividend yield of 7.43%. Altria for a long time has been well known as a tobacco company. They're responsible for a lot of tobacco products sold in America, and they're the parent company of Philip Morris. A lot of people who are critical of Altria point out the fact that because tobacco usage is decreasing around the globe, that they're not going to be a good investment going into the future. And I think a lot of people who say that probably aren't aware of just how smart Altria's management team is. They're well aware that tobacco has been on the decline, and as a result, they've branched out into other markets over the years. More recently, they've invested in companies like Juul, which makes vaping products that have become really popular. They've also invested in a winery, and they're looking to expand into the growing recreational hash market. Altria has a great management team, and I think that they're one of the best examples of a company that's been successful in changing their strategy. Looking at the past 20 years, a $10,000 investment in Altria would have left you with $127,026.39 with a total return of 1,170.15%. That averages out to a 13.55% annual return. At number 3, we have a company that I've talked about many times before on this channel, and that's Realty Income, ticker symbol O. Since I've talked so much about this stock before, I won't go into too much detail, but Realty Income is a real estate investment trust that owns over 6,700 retail, industrial, office, and agricultural properties in the US as well as Puerto Rico and the UK. Their stock currently offers a 4.31% dividend yield as well. What makes Realty Income so great is their dedication to providing investors with continuous monthly dividends with consistent growth. They're widely known as the monthly dividend company, and to date they've paid 614 consecutive monthly dividend payments to shareholders and have increased their dividends for 96 consecutive quarters. You can see they've also averaged an annual return of 15.3% since being listed on the New York Stock Exchange back in 1994. Given what we previously talked about with Simon Property Group, you might be asking what makes Realty Income different and if it's possible for them to provide good returns in the future. With both companies being REITs, Simon Property owns malls and Realty Income owns freestanding retail commercial properties. Their largest tenants include convenience stores, drugstores, and discount general stores. If we look at their top 20 clients, we can see that a lot of these businesses have continued to perform really well. 7-Eleven and Walgreens are businesses that are significantly more recession-proof than, say, Macy's or other mall stores. Another thing to like is that, unlike Simon, Realty Income is a triple net lease REIT, which is a huge benefit. I briefly talked about net lease REITs a couple weeks ago, but what this means is that the businesses that rent the properties that Realty Income owns are responsible for paying the maintenance, insurance, and taxes on them. This is a pretty significant benefit that some REITs have because obviously, as you can probably imagine, this saves Realty Income a ton of money that they can use to pay shareholders or buy more properties. Looking at their 20-year history, a $10,000 investment back in 2001 would now be worth $132,273.30. That comes out to an average annual return of 13.78%, which is slightly better than Altria. You would now own roughly 2,014 shares of Realty Income, which would now be paying you about $475 a month in dividends. But again, that's only if you would have invested $10,000 one time and never bought any additional shares besides what you reinvested. Realty Income is the top performing REIT of the last 20 years in terms of total return with reinvested dividends, and I continue to be very optimistic about this company. At number 2 on this list, we have Valero Energy Corporation, ticker symbol VLO. Valero manufactures, markets, and sells transportation fuels and petrochemical products in the United States, Canada, the UK, and internationally. It operates through 3 segments: refining, renewable diesel, and ethanol. Valero operates 15 refineries, 11 ethanol plants, as well as a 50-megawatt wind farm. Overall, Valero is a pretty big oil company that has some gas stations primarily in California, Texas, as well as out east and throughout New England. Like so many oil and gas companies now, Valero is really trying to promote this greener and more environmentally friendly image for the company. In their latest investor presentation, they really like to highlight all the progress they've been making towards reducing emissions and being better for the planet. But from both a financial perspective as well as their stock's performance, VLO has seen mixed results within the last 4 years or so. In May of 2018, their share price hovered around an all-time high of around $125 a share, whereas now the stock currently trades at $71.36 per share. It did go all the way down to $38 a share back in March of 2020, but since then it's continued to try to recover to that all-time high, although as you can see there have been some pretty big price swings in their share price since then. Looking at their income statement, we can see that Valero hasn't been performing all of that well as of recently. Their net income in 2017 was roughly $4.1 billion, but since then it's continued to decline. Then finally, as you can see in December of 2020, no doubt largely due to the pandemic, Valero posts some pretty significant losses. They recorded a loss of net income of $1.4 billion. Their stock currently offers a pretty decent yield of 5.8%, and despite the past few years, Valero has been able to increase their dividends for over 10 years. Right now, VLO pays a quarterly dividend of 98 cents per share, and from a performance perspective, a $10,000 investment 20 years ago would now leave you with $140,162.28 with an average annual total return of 14.11%. Overall, I don't have a lot of familiarity with Valero, at least not as much as I do with Chevron, but hopefully Valero will be able to post better annual results coming up in a few months. Before I get to number 1 on this list, if this video has benefited you in any sort of way, please consider clicking the thumbs up button below, and also feel free to subscribe if you want to see more aggressive dividend investing strategy videos, which is what my channel revolves around. Thank you all so much for your consideration as well as your continual support. Finally, at number 1 on this list, or the best performing high-yielding dividend stock of the last 20 years, is ONEOK, ticker symbol OKE. This is a company that engages in the gathering, processing, storage, and transportation of natural gas in the United States. The company owns natural gas gathering pipelines and processing plants in the Mid-Continental and Rocky Mountain regions. They also gather, treat, and transport natural gas liquids. They were founded back in 1902 and they're headquartered in Tulsa, Oklahoma. ONEOK is one of the largest natural gas companies in the Midwestern United States, having an approximately 40,000-mile network of natural gas liquids and natural gas pipelines all throughout the Midwest. Their natural gas is used in homes as well as used for city transportation and industrial and manufacturing plants. Additionally, their natural gas liquids are used in a wide range of products, including recyclable packaging, batteries, clothing, building materials, and more. This stock also took a serious hit during the pandemic, much like Valero. Right now, their stock hasn't returned to its original pre-pandemic price, which at the time was hovering around $77 a share. Their reported revenue has also been kind of unusual in recent years. As we can see, they reported revenue of over $1 billion in both 2018 and 2019, both of which were pretty significant gains compared to 2017. But then the company reported much less revenue in 2020, again, probably largely due to the pandemic, I'm assuming. They do currently offer a dividend yield of 6.35%, and they pay a quarterly dividend of 94 cents per share. From what I can see, ONEOK hasn't appeared to have ever cut their dividend, at least looking back as far as 1998. They haven't grown it every year since then, but at least they've never cut it as of right now. Looking at this stock's 20-year performance, a $10,000 investment would now leave you with $202,904.22, which is pretty incredible. That comes out to an average annual return of 16.24%. Alright everyone, that's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. If this video benefited you in any sort of way, please click the like button below and click subscribe if you want to see more dividend investing strategy videos. It would just let me know that there's a sizable enough audience out there who wants this kind of content, and I'll continue to provide you all with that content. Alright everyone, thanks again for watching and I'll catch you next time. Take care.